the death of common courtesy?
So when someone comes round offering food to people,
Then everyone in the whole household had to come down and say hello to that person.
you used to sit with the guest and you interact.
People that I want to spend time with, we need to start making more effort. We're getting older. You don't know how long you've got left. Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Bal.
And my name's Taj. And I remembered it this time.
You did? Okay, I stopped saying it. It's been that long since me and Taj have recorded together that it's been a while.
I had to take time out just to learn my name. That's the real reason.
It's been fair enough. Okay, so on this week's episode, we're asking, is it the death of common courtesy? Now, during the last few months, the reason we've decided to talk about this subject is because we always sort of compare as to, the way we've been brought up, me and you, obviously Taj, we find that, and I'm sure other people find it as well, it's very different from how other people have been brought up. And over the last few months, I've been thinking, when we have conflicts with people, is it the fact that because of that causes issues? And is there a difference in values, and that's what's causing a problem? Does that make sense, or am I just...
Yeah, I'm going to start off with an example to make it like just the way we've been brought up, and probably a typical Indian thing. So when someone comes round, you expect them, like as soon as they step in the door, to take their shoes off, right?
You hound them.
No, it's just expected. You'd find it like, what are you going to do it kind of thing.
What? You haven't explained what?
Yeah, take your shoes off.
Oh, taking shoes off. Yeah.
Second thing is, right, you have the little...
but on that point, it really made me laugh. You know, when Rishi Sunak came into power, and by the way, we're recording before the election, and there's no party political thingy. There was a few Instagram memes, and whatever it is, of him entering Downing Street and putting shoes outside of Downing Street. Yes, it is funny, but what's wrong with that? It's really quite clean that you don't enter with your shoes, right?
But that's how we've been brought up, so...
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, then you have the thing of, but this is different, offering food to people. Now, I think that's important because we've been brought up, as soon as someone comes, you're like, do you want something to eat? No. Are you sure you don't want something to eat? All right, I'll bring something anyway.
That is what happens, though. And that is what happens. But then to the point where we've had it, where some people have said, mainly your husband, have been a bit like, oh my God, mum keeps asking me or dad keeps putting food down. And so we've actually said to mum and dad, if they say no, do not put it in front of them. Right?
Agreed.
And yeah, but what is your... I was talking to a friend about this as well, because she said the same thing. I don't know if this is just like an East London thing. I don't know. But she has the same thing where, like, she's always been the same thing. Always put food in front of people when they come. But other people don't do that. But then what do we think about that? Is there...
I think at first I found it really odd that people weren't doing it. And then I thought, I need to get over this. It is just the way people are. It's not a big issue. Just make sure you eat before you go around someone's house. Don't have that expectation that someone's going to feed you. Not that you would when you go to someone's house, but you'd think, hey, a biscuit here, a bit of chevra, mathian, a couple of samosa.
But then I've got a thing with this because it's, at the end, so you end up, well, we did, I don't know if other people, but I have reduced it. We used to put loads in the plate, like it'd be biscuits, I don't know, like you said, the jivra, the nuts, whatever, right? You do a plate full of stuff, right? And then if someone doesn't finish it, I'm starting to have an issue with it. So if someone hasn't finished everything in the plate, what do you do with the food that's in the plate?
I think that might be to do with COVID. I'm a bit OCD because I don't want to put it back in the containers.
Right? Yeah,
I don't throw it out, so I just put cling film on top of it and then
wait for the next guest.
Not really. I think I put so little now.
Yeah,
because I found that in Swindon it isn't done so much. So now I've turned like my surroundings and just do a little plate.
Do you know what? It's been that long that I've been to anyone's house. I don't even know what the done thing in West London is anymore. Like, does anyone put food in the plate? I ain't got a clue. I'm not the most sociable type of person, so we don't intend to invite that.
You go out more than me, but anyway.
Say that again, sorry.
I said you go out more than me, so Anyway, so let's move off from there. What else? What else?
Okay, we've discussed this previously, but you know, when we were younger, if someone came round, then everyone in the whole household had to come down and say hello to that person.
Oh, yeah.
People that have come, and I think that's the right thing, though.
I think it's important to do that.
I found other people don't do that. Now, again, by the way, anyone listening into this, you do your thing, we do our thing. We're just sort of explaining like the differences of how we've been brought up, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's wrong, but like it's really interesting, and it's becoming less and less that people
Common
then,
courtesy.
yeah, that's it, common courtesy, like just say hi. People have taken their time to come to your house.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go and say hello, like, and that takes like what, 5 minutes max.
I mean, I suppose when we were young and when we were older, we used to sit with the guest and you interact. All right, you might not know them, but if you don't have that connect, like if you don't sit down with them, you'll never know them. So
Yeah,
why not actually make that time? Like you said, everyone's time is valuable. And it seems like the more and more life goes on, even though we stopped in COVID, we were like, oh no, we're going to enjoy our time. No, I think I've picked up the pace double than that. I don't
yeah.
know if I'm coming or going. It's got to that stage.
Just because of busyness, you mean, like life
Yeah,
busyness?
but I
Okay.
think that's it as well. It is a case of we haven't got time, so that's why we don't want to spend time sitting down and spending that time with the guest.
Do you know what I text? I've got a group with two of my close friends, and I said to them, so we all live in different places, and I text them and said, it was over the weekend, and I said, look, I've decided that I'm not going to make too much effort with like generally people, but the people that I want to spend time with and like interact, we need to start making more effort. We do, because we're getting older. You don't know how long you've got left. I mean, I remember when my friend, yeah, that's it. I remember when my friend got married, and me and my other friend went, and she was the first one to get married out of us three, and we were sitting there thinking, "Oh my god!" Like
When
it's
did this
crazy.
happen?
Yeah, like, and we weren't even going out that often, and from that, we have got closer. And I've known that friend that I went with since infant school, I think. I don't know, whatever. But that was the thing. But I've sort of changed my mind in the fact that, well, if you want to get to know other people, there's a whole world out there, and you can learn so much from other people. Yes, you have to surround yourself with people that have good energy and you learn from, but it is important to, like you said, take that time out and talk to different people.
Yeah, and I have you are right. You get different points of views, and maybe you would never have come across those people. Like for example, I must admit, we do a lot of well-being workshops, and we have loads of different people that are coming in. And I feel blessed to be in this place because I'm interacting with people that maybe wouldn't have on a normal every day.
Yeah,
But we're getting a chance to sit there, and people are really opening up, and you just see life from a different perspective.
yeah. But then do you think that's the thing? I mean, like you said, life's busy, so you're in your own lane and everyone's in their own lane and everyone's doing their own thing. Do we need
But then
everyone?
does that excuse not coming down and saying hello to a guest in that particular circumstance?
Okay,
I
so
don't think so.
this is where I was like, is there a difference in values? Because I've had it where, you know, where people might have come to our like my program, or
I
I've
can
gone to
tell you're thinking of people.
or I've gone to someone else's house and they've left without saying bye. And I'm like I was actually quite upset about it, to be fair, because I just think it's like, bye. That didn't even take 5 seconds, sort of thing. I just don't understand. I just am not getting it. But then this is where I thought maybe it's just a difference in values as well, because from that a conversation started of, I think it's important, and again we've discussed this, that our the older generation, our parents, and even people, if people have got grandparents, it's important that we go and visit them on the odd occasion as
But
much as you
then but could that be the case, for example, in a particular, event or whatever, when there's loads of people there, slipping away might be comfortable for that person because they might think that that bye-bye isn't a big issue for the person hosting?
can. Fair enough. And this is it, this is different perspectives, because before I was just like, but I get that. And no, I'm not swearing, but yeah, no, I get that. different perspectives. There we are. You've just, and this is the other thing of, we haven't recorded in a while. So sometimes I need to debrief so that I can see a different, and that makes sense. The person didn't think that it was important.
I mean, myself, I would have thought that was a bit rude as well, to be honest. But then thinking from the other person's point of view, maybe that is the way they do things. They just exit, and maybe they don't think that they're important enough to in that person, the host's life.
That's a good point, and they shouldn't be that important for you to care about. I like that. Yeah, I like where you're going with that. Fair enough. Okay, so on that point, then does that, because the world is turning into it is the world, it's a world of social media, everyone's busy, you don't go to people's houses, XYZ, then should we also be like that as well? Like, should we then decide not to
See,
say bye?
I tried to do that, and
Not to see our older generation. By the way, the reason I've got a chip on my shoulder about that is because, look, we're getting older. I mean, I'd want people to say, hi, you're still alive. I'm out here. I know you're alive. It's all going good. Sort of thing. Like, we're all going to be in that place. Why would you not care?
see, I've been in certain circumstances. I get really happy when I meet someone just generally out, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'll go out of my way and walk up to that person and say, hi, how are you doing? And sometimes the response back has been, I'm thinking, okay, I wish I hadn't done this because the person's trying to run away. So from that, I've learned, okay, I won't put that much energy or be that happy about meeting that certain person anymore. I think you kind of need to learn the signals as well, which I wasn't very good at because I think I just get happy about just being around people and talking to people, but then the other person might not feel the same.
Yeah.
So then it's all about respecting people's how they want to be treated. So if they want to be
Okay.
hi, okay, bye, or ignore them, I'm going to do that now.
But then that works both ways, though. I get what you're saying, and I agree with that. And now thinking about it, it's like, okay, fine. Like, people slipping away without saying bye. It's a case of maybe they didn't think they were important enough in my life to think that mattered, right? They should be happy to know that it did bother me. So clearly they are that important. In which case, next time say bye. But on that point, then, should I be changing my perspective to say, okay, what they did was fine, or should they also respect the fact that I actually want a bye, you're going, I've come around to you, and, just saying
Maybe
bye.
that conversation with them because they might not understand or know the way that you do things. But
But then
personally, if I was in that situation, I haven't got the energy to have that conversation, so I just wouldn't. I'd just reciprocate and do the same thing that they did. If that's the way they work, that's the way I will work
but
with
then
that particular person, not with everyone.
but do you not, yeah, I agree with that, but then do you not think that we're sort of playing into a world of negativity?
You can, I mean, you can have that conversation, and if
No,
that
I'm not
person,
going to have, no. I mean, firstly, if there is a difference in values, I don't think one conversation would change someone else's
you
thought on
can't
it.
change people.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I wouldn't have that conversation. To be fair, if I was close enough with a person to have that kind of conversation, I probably wouldn't just say bye. I'd probably jump on them, give them a bit of hug, a big kiss. Not everyone, don't worry, everyone. I don't tend to do it to everyone. Only the lucky ones. But
But
yeah,
this is what comes to play with, when in-laws, like daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws have an issue with each other. It's that understanding because one person wants the other person to be like this, and we've got to understand, for example, the mother-in-law, she's so many years old, she's most likely not going to change. I mean, you can try, there's always hope, but she most likely isn't going to change the way she
oh,
does
hold
things.
on. But then sometimes, but this is the other thing. We're blaming it on the older generation to say that they're wrong.
No, I just gave you an example. It might be the daughter-in-law. She
Yeah,
might be a cow as well.
but then I.
Thank
Fair
you.
enough. Fair. But I was going to say, I'm finding this issue is more with a younger and not that much younger than, I feel like I'm a bunny saying this, but the generation slightly below
No,
me.
I don't think so. I think this is happening in our generation as well. I think there is just a whole thing of no, I don't think it's just a younger generation.
But
Maybe you're hanging around with the younger generation. Cool. But no, I think it's happening in all generations. I don't think we can say it's a particular generation that it's happening more with. I'm seeing it with our generation as well, where there's just complete rudeness. But then
So,
they might think that I'm rude as well.
but that's what I was going to
Like,
say. You think it's rude, but is that just because it's not aligning, the values aren't aligning, and that's where the issues are starting to come. But then going back to the question, is it the death of common courtesy? At what point? So, okay, in my kids' school, they do this whole thing about values and being kind and all this sort of stuff. And that is part of it. Say hello to people, talk to old people, talk to young people, be nice
so
to
they're
people.
encouraging talking to strangers.
No, not strangers, not strangers, just generally people. At what point in this whole educational
Okay, here's another.
hold on, let me finish. At what point in this whole life cycle do we learn to be assholes?
Okay, here's another point. When we were younger, when someone used to come round, you used to give them a side hug.
Oh yeah, I get where you're going with this. Yeah.
Now, if my kids don't feel comfortable hugging someone, I don't force them
Yeah.
because I don't think we should force them. I think they should have that. And there's like, for example, with their grandparents, I I would say do it because that's how they build connections. But that's because I know their grandparents love them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there needs to genuinely be someone that you think if the kids are like, no, 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 then you need to explain to them, no, they're your grandparents. They love you. They'll do anything for you. And I think touch is very important. I hug a lot of people. Maybe I shouldn't hug so many people, but yeah, I do just go around hugging people. Um, but sometimes you need to read the signs. Some people just aren't comfortable. I remember there's this one friend that I've got, and she does not like hugging, and I keep forgetting because got a memory like a sieve, and she turns into rock almost,
I
and I
used to
think,
be like that. I get that.
and I'm like, oh my god, don't do it, don't do it. Then I forget,
And
don't
then
do
you
it,
do it
don't do
anyway.
it.
So
Then I do it again. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
but who's being disrespectful in that case? It's quite clear that she doesn't want to be hugged. Yes, you've forgotten. You forgot like
I forget
after.
everything.
But then it goes back to the whole thing. Do you have a
Then
conversation?
she might think that I'm being disrespectful because I'm not valuing her
Yeah, that's what I mean.
personal space. Then maybe I am being disrespectful, but not because I want to be, because I've just got a bad memory. That's why. So
I
maybe that's the case with your people that left early. Maybe they just got bad memories.
okay. I the one thing you did say that like I've forgotten now. Bad memory. I've forgotten what I was gonna say.
So
Gone.
basically, we're saying it's learning, like we were talking about grandparents and how it's important to learn signals. For example, cuddling might, our kids might not sit well with that. We
Yeah.
might not sit well with giving someone a hug.
So what do we okay, so what do we say common courtesy actually is? Because you're right, like the hugging thing, before it would have been like a that is a common courtesy thing, hug someone like side eye, yeah, it was one of those things, isn't it? Whereas now you're like, actually, there could be like safeguarding issues here, which is one of the reasons, obviously, why you've said it.
Yeah.
So that now is not common courtesy. What are we saying when we're saying common courtesy? Like, let's define it.
Okay, there's another thing I've just thought of as well. So you call everyone auntie and uncle that are older than you,
I
but
love how you
say
don't ignore me because you remembered something. Like, okay, I'll do that. Go on. Huh. Yeah.
so yeah, you call everyone auntie and uncle, and then say you see that person in a different setting where it isn't an Asian setting, let's just say.
Yeah.
Now everyone's calling that person by the first name. I've been in this situation. I know you've been in this situation. Do you call the person by the first name, or do you still call them auntie and uncle? Now, before I was like, oh, sugar, I don't know what to do. But now I'm like, no, I'm going to call you auntie and uncle still.
No, I'm the opposite. So I've been in that situation. I don't know which situation you're talking about for yourself, but it's a professional situation. So yeah, I used a name because you have to. I mean, you're in a professional setting. Otherwise, as soon as I phoned them, I'd be like, "Oh, hi, uncle, auntie, whatever," right? But if I was in front of other people, we are actually peers. We are colleagues, and also it's a respect thing. Actually, not even a respect thing.
No, but then is it a respect thing? Because are you respecting them by calling them by their names?
No, but in that situation, in my situation, it was a case of, well, actually, we're at the same level here. Whereas auntie, uncle, you are giving someone now. Think about it. When someone calls me auntie, and I always get offended. Actually, now I'm thinking it is a respect thing. They've raised you higher by saying that, so we shouldn't be
Oh, that's a good
upset
point.
about it,
Because
right?
now I've started calling everyone Banji, like sister, or
Yeah.
Baji, even if they're older than me and they should be an auntie and uncle, because I find it so hurtful being called auntie. So now I'm calling everyone Banji and Baji, so brother and sister, no matter if they're like 100 years old, thinking, okay, maybe they won't be hurt like I am hurt when someone called me auntie. But I think your point is right. You do raise that level of respect when you call someone auntie or uncle,
So we
because then
should,
you're like, yeah, they're older than you. I'm respecting you.
yeah. So
But
we
what do you do in a situation when they older than you and they call you Banji
should, so basically, what you're doing to
or
other,
auntie? No, sorry, auntie and uncle.
I'm
So
like, bitch, I ain't your auntie. No, I'm joking.
there's been loads of situations. I remember there was a
Oh, I'll tell
situation.
you. No, wait. You're really excited because this is obviously a podcast. We haven't recorded in ages. Now you're just saying everything. Go on. I'll let you have it, and then I've got something to say after this.
So
Go
I
on.
think it was Marcy, and someone was calling, and the person was quite clearly older than her. They were grey hair, not that that's a marker, but anyway, and they kept calling her auntie. And I was like, why didn't you just say, excuse me, mate, you're older than me. Don't call me auntie.
It's because
I'm your daughter.
they used to colour their hair, and she didn't. That was the whole thing.
That was it. That was it. That was it.
On that point, this is leads. So the other day, so one of our cousins is quite. She's very good with the kids. Like she'll play with them. And we went to her house last week, and we were sitting here at dinner with the
I
kids.
didn't know you went round her house last week.
I did. Yeah, you did. I think.
Anyway.
Anyway, forget it. And the kids go to me. Oh, is that person older than you? I was like,
Oh
yes.
God, I know who that person is because my kids say the same thing.
Yeah.
God.
And this is a compliment to them. Like, I don't know why we're saying this person. It's one of our cousins. I mean, it's a complete compliment. I go, yeah, she's like 6, 7 years older than me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And then I go, do you think, because there as well, do you think he looks older than her? They're like, no. So I'm like, do you think I look older than your dad then? Now, don't get me wrong. The reason for that is my white hair. I've got a lot of white hair now. I was just like,
So that same person, like our cousin. So my daughter goes to me. She always looks good. Why do you always look so rubbish? And
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so going back to the question, now we've sort of swirled. What is common courtesy then? Because we're talking
it's
about.
different things to different people. That's
Okay,
what happiness is. But anyway, there's different things.
a song like that.
It's actually a hymn, I think. Yeah, different. Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, so I think it is again on the eyes of the beholder. Like I think taking your shoes off, again, I'm going back to it, giving someone food when they come in is common courtesy. Someone to come down and say, hello, how are you doing?
hello, how are you doing?
Not
Yeah.
like that, but how are you doing? I think that's important because I would find it really rude if they didn't and they were pretending to be not in the house when they
And
know.
I've had it where they pretend they're asleep. I'm like, how much time do you sleep in the day? What's wrong with you?
Go up there and kick up. No.
I sleep a lot. Anyway. But then where you're saying,
Or is that saying something about us that the person doesn't want to come down and say hello?
I had a comment once, right? Okay, so this is something I'm trying to calm down. So I have a very I am very high energy. I mean, I don't think that's shocking. I mean, sometimes I'm in a really bad mood and everyone knows, but I'm quite a high energy person and I don't agree that it's a good thing that is to be high energy. Like I've noticed, especially kids, they hate me. I think it's that energy level. I'm too high.
You're higher than them.
No, like I am like a sort of thing. And it's not a good thing in all places. So someone said to me once, they were like, we knew you were here because you were so loud. I'm like,
That's not nice.
oh, that's pretty rude. I mean, I don't go around that often now. So I'm like, that's pretty rude. So I did calm
But
it
then
down.
you should have turned it around and made yourself into a positive thing and saying, thank you for noticing me.
I'm like, okay, cool, I'll stop talking. I mean, we've got a whole podcast on the fact that I talk, and we've got a few listeners, so it can't be too much of a bad
But
thing.
then how do you take that? So if someone comes out with a
I
negative,
was like, what? What a bitch!
please do not
It's
swear.
in my head.
Refrain from swearing.
Sorry, today I have got a bit of a foul mouth. Taj has already had a go at me today. I don't actually do it out loud for those people. So the ones that I do say a swear in front of, you should be very happy with it. Same thing. But it's like, you know, the Ali McBeal, when you get the thumb
Yeah,
iron over their head. That's exactly the moments I have. I'm at that
yeah,
age.
I understand that. But then what do you do with things like if someone's negative to you, do you think, okay, they're just a negative person, cut them off? Sometimes you can't cut them off because they're family. Or can you?
Okay, so all right, there's actually going to be an episode of the podcast that we will be releasing in a few weeks. Where I talked to mum and dad, and this was actually a question that I sort of posed to him, like if there is that, it is a respect thing. I'm sorry, if you know that you're being mean to someone, then it is a respect thing. You've got a lack of respect. It doesn't, and then it comes down to values. What are your values and what are my values? And I've learned that values, I never thought about it, like I wasn't that much into it until I lost, I left my corporate sort of career. And you know how they always, it was quite a large company I used to work with, and they talk about values and stuff, and I'm like, load of rubbish. But I so understand the importance of it. But it also has to reflect in what you're doing, not as only as a company, but as a person as well. Because if your values are XYZ, then you need to be reflecting XYZ as an employee, an employer, and portraying it so that employees follow that as well. Sorry, I've totally gone corporate, but it's the same thing. Like you can't then say, oh yeah, I want my kids to say hello and be nice and da 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 da, if you can't do that yourself. And
But
again,
then what about the other way around when someone like has an argument with you? I'm thinking of a particular situation. They are like vile,
I
and
don't
then you carry on talking to them, and then
yeah,
you carry on talking to them. Is that setting a bad example to your children? And is that saying that you're not valuing yourself enough as a person to cut off that person?
yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and that's something that I know I don't, it probably is because we're sisters, but I think this is a big South Asian, no, I won't say South Asian issue. I think it's just a family problem. um, I do think that it's easy to say. I mean, I always say to my friend when we have these conversations, I'm like, yeah, don't talk. But I know that I can't do that. I'm giving it the large, but the truth is, I'm not that kind of person. But I don't want my kids to be like that. So you're right. It's very hard to then tell my children, if someone's not respecting you, that you should carry on talking to them. That's really hard to do. I mean,
Pot kettle.
black. Yeah,
I remember that saying.
yeah. So, I mean, it's a very interesting topic, this is. I didn't, we've had a bit of a laugh. But again, what is common courtesy? So, because we're saying if that person doesn't do what we're saying here, and they, everyone,
No, but you don't want them to do. They're not robots, but it's. I think it is just a given that, yeah, that you're nice.
given that you're not, but what, being nice is different to different people. Same as happiness.
Is it really? And another thing is, what if someone's nice, but you know that they're really
Not nice.
not nice? That sounds so childish, but cunning.
Not cunning.
Do you call it out or do you just carry on playing along with it? Because I want to call it out,
I
but
want to call it out. You can't do it
I
though.
don't
There's
do it.
some people that do it, and I love it when they do it because it's just
I'm going to be that person one day.
one day. Like we're not getting any younger. I'm
We,
gonna before you get to that one day. Yeah. But then how do you, this is the thing, we're sort of second guessing someone else. What if they're actually being nice? Like what if they are nice and they obviously,
horrible.
you think that they're not nice because there's something behind it, but well actually there's nothing behind it. That's just,
So
I
is
don't know.
that something wrong with the person that's getting the message wrong then?
You know that Take That song? You know when they came back and there was that song, there's three versions of the truth, yours, mine,
Oh, I didn't hear that song.
I can't remember. I can't remember what the song is. But basically there's three versions, right? What you see out of it, what the other person, and we've seen it ourselves. I mean, there's been situations with blah, 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 where we've spoken on the podcast about the same situation, and we've seen it in different ways, and that is the tough thing. I mean, perspectives are very skewed, and everyone's got their own truth, right?
Yeah.
So, so
So
what?
what are we saying then?
So what do we do with this? I mean, one thing we have established is the fact that people have got different values, but different. What is common courtesy? Well, it's different for different people. So you're never going to have
A
people that
line.
be
Yeah.
aligned. But then that's why they say sometimes, friends can be closer than family, because you're going to find friends that have similar values to you. You have that choice, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
But then that is funny because you'd grown up with that family and you'd think that you would have morphed into that person
but then
almost.
that's what, yeah, but then this goes into the whole conversation of, do you think people should get married young, or because people are getting older, they're starting to have their own personalities and all that sort of stuff? And that's a big conversation itself, isn't it? So
Yeah.
is it, yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. It is a tough one. But what have we learned, like going away? Because obviously we both had situations where we think that people are not being very nice, or there is a lack of common courtesy. But where do we go with that? Do you totally ignore that person, or do you carry on?
I think it's really easy to say that you'll totally ignore that person because there might be certain circumstances, for example, situations where you're together, and how can you completely ignore that person? Because then you're looking bad for doing that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So I would say
For
in
me
that,
personally, it takes more energy to ignore someone, and I found that I've done something. I've been in the situation where I've got there. It's too much energy, man. It's a lot of energy ignoring
yeah, I
people.
don't know how hating is hard because it does waste. Because you got to remember who you're hating as well.
I mean, I don't hate that many people, to be fair, so like it's not that hard to remember that.
Well, with me in certain situations where someone has been rude, I've kind of calmed my communication with that person.
You're quite good with that, though. Like, to have a fight, you need two people, right, to be fighting. I know you're good with it, because I know the situation you were referring to earlier. And I was talking to Suk about this, and I was like, if I was in that situation, I would have gone on one. Like, I would have, and that's the wrong response. Whereas what you did, and I don't like saying it very often, but you are right in the way you were quite calm, because you can't have a fight with someone that's not fighting back. So
Well, yeah, and also the person that was on that the what wasn't a fight, the person that got a bit irate, I thought this person's not going to understand my point of view. So why am I going to waste my energy putting my thoughts forward? It's just a waste of energy.
yeah,
And to be honest, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to invest my time, my energy into someone that isn't going to listen. If it was someone like we have a lot of fights, and I'm willing to put energy into that,
thank you.
because I know at the end of the day we'll resolve it and we'll get on with it. But then I know it's coming from a place of love. Whereas this particular person, ego thing, maybe, maybe
Yeah.
not. But I'm not going to waste my time trying to work out what was behind that because the way that that person acted just wasn't right.
Okay, but going back to this, I mean, this is a conversation that I had with Dad on that episode, and people can listen to that in a few weeks. And what he said was, well, the problem is people just are not aligning. There's too much friction between people, and I was
No
like, well,
compromise.
there's no compromise, there's
Yeah.
no, and that's butting heads. But then, if that I did pose a question, but what if there is a lack of respect from one party, even if the other one's like, well, actually, I'll let this go. And even from him, there was well, there's only so much you can do, right? So I think it has to get to a certain level, but where is that level as to before you start being like,
But
no,
then that's your own marker that you have in life. I think
but
quite a lot
our
of things.
markers are getting, but this is the thing, our markers are getting lower and lower, where we're not willing to take it on the chin sometimes and just let it go. Let it go.
I mean, our parents say this a lot, and you think, oh, whatever. But I think it is true. Kanyanda. So it's to do with food and the environment that
I'm
you're in.
so old. Yeah.
But I think it's true. Like
Mm,
we're having all these illnesses. Obviously, there's loads of factors to it, but I think the processed foods do impact the I don't know our mindset and how much we're willing to take on. And this social media, which I use a lot of, is affecting the way because everything's just so fast. We haven't got time for people.
yeah.
All of this environment that we're creating around us is creating us as a person not to be tolerant and
Mm,
not to be respectful, I would say, to other
capitalism.
people.
Everything's faster. It's all to make money. Okay, as we come to the end of this episode, the title of the episode is well, I can't remember what I'm going to title it,
Sophianos?
but something. Yeah, but it is it the death of common courtesy? And I am yeah. What's your answer to that? Because from what we've just discussed, people have got different values, different common courtesies, I suppose. So, what is our?
To be honest, I think when someone's horrible, they know that they're being horrible. I don't think 100% you can say, oh, this person doesn't know that they're just being out of order.
So, what do you do on that then? If we're going away from this podcast, what would you advise someone where there is a
I'm not going to say, oh, completely cut away from that person, because sometimes that is just not possible. I've heard a lot of that, oh, cut your ties, get away from that person. And sometimes that is not possible. So
yeah.
I would say reduce your interaction. When you need to say hello, say the odd hello, but just let them get on with it, and you have your space, they have their space. That is what I would do.
Yeah, but this space thing is becoming an issue. We're becoming so antisocial and so, and that's me saying. I mean, I stay by
But then
myself.
if it doesn't bother that person, why are we letting it bother us so much?
Yeah, no, it's true. I agree, and that this is the thing. So this is the sort of conclusion I've got to as well, where it's just a difference in values. You can't change someone else. That they're not going to be able to change you. So live and let live. And on that point, that's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.